I just bought this box and it's awesome, but pretty expensive for a single 6 model unit, so I thought, why don't we try and kitbash 2 units out of it? This box gives you the option to build either Tankbustas or Breaka Boyz, and checking the instructions here, it looks like you get 2 different heads and arms for all of them. So I guess I just need 6 legs and torsos. I initially thought about using these old fantasy orcs that I've had forever, but their lower backs look weird to me, just like the old 40k boys. I know a lot of people love them, but I really can't stand their twerking pose, looking straight into the ground. So I've set myself a challenge, building my whole army without using any of these old orc bodies. And since I like making my life harder, I decided to use a kit of monopose boys for this kit bash, which are super cool but way harder to convert. I hope I don't regret it later. Checking both instruction sheets, I think I have the perfect candidate for the Nob. This boy has almost exactly the same pose, so I built him normally, and now I just need to convert his gun into a rocket launcher. I had this spare rocket launcher for another unit of boys, so I cut part of his original gun and glued the 2 pieces together. It looks a bit weird, but not bad. For the other hand, I cut his chopper and glued an actual rocket pistol from the Tankbusta kit. Then I found this piece that looks like a rocket being fired mid-air, and I thought it would look super cool on this Nob and help him stand out from the rest of the unit. So I placed it on one of his weapons, and yeah, this looks amazing. For the backpack banner, I used the one from the boys Nob, but it had a gun on the back, and this guy is supposed to have a chopper, so I replaced it and added the Tankbusta symbol on top. I used a drill to attach it to the orc's back, so it has a solid connection. Now our Nob just needs a head, and for that I'll use a bit of green stuff. Nothing fancy, just a block to fill the gap and a bit of sculpting to make it look natural. I picked this head because it looked the coolest to me, but then I realized there was a slightly bigger head for the boss Nob. But honestly, this one works fine. Who cares? Then I added some solder plates and there we go, first one done. For the second and third models, I went with these solder rocket launchers, so I just needed to replace the left hand and sculpt the necks a bit, way easier. The next 2 needed a full arm swap, but that wasn't too problematic. Just a bit of cutting here and there and some green stuff to fill the gaps. The solder plates are really helping me a lot, since they hide most of the messy connections. So that's 5 done, and the 6th one is even easier, since there is already a boy with a rocket launcher in this kit. I just built him normally and added a new head and solder plates. That's it, the boys are fully converted. It took a while, but I wouldn't say it was too hard. I also built the Breaka Boyz normally, so now we have both units done. Let's move on to basing. For the bases, I used my usual simple process. First, I glue small pieces of cork to simulate rocks. Then I apply a layer of texture paint over the whole base. That's it, quick and easy. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the video, it would really help me if you subscribe to the channel. Let's get to painting. We want our color scheme to be mainly black and yellow, so we have to make a decision. Either we prime black and paint yellow on top, which is painful, or we do a white zenithal and repaint all of the black areas. I've tried both before for this army, and neither is ideal, so I'm going with a middle ground. We prime black, and then spray white ink only on the solder plates and key details. I'm not a pro with the airbrush, so there's some of a spray I'll need to fix later, but at least I don't have to repaint all the black and metallic areas. This worked pretty well, so I moved on to painting the yellow. It still needed a couple of coats, but it wasn't nearly as bad as painting over black. With the yellow base coat done, I used a dark green for the skin as a shadow base. For the Tankbustas, I did this super cool effect for the rockets being launched mid-air. I started by wet blending these colors along the fog, and then I dry brush grey over all of them. Then I used a lighter and a darker grey to give the fog a little volume. And that's it, it looks super cool. Now we go back with black paint and clean up all the overspray for the airbrush, restoring a nice base for the armor and metallics. While I had black on my palette, I also freehanded some hazard stripes on the Breaka Boyz. I kept them quick and simple, since I can hide mistakes later with weathering. I've been using hazard stripes a lot in my Orc army, but I was starting to get a bit bored of them, so for the Tankbustas I decided to go with a checkered pattern instead. I started my army about 3 months ago, and I've painted a lot of orcs since then. Changing the process a bit from time to time, it's really important to avoid burnout. You don't need your whole army to follow the exact same recipe to look cohesive, and honestly, experimenting like this will help you improve way more than just repeating the same thing over and over again. I also added some battle damage using thin lines of yellow and black, which was harder than I expected. Then I mixed in ice yellow and added edge highlights and more fine lines to build up texture. For the hazard stripes, I skipped the first step and only used ice yellow, since I was already adding too much damage. Now for the orc skin. I mixed dark green with lime green for a mid-tone, painting all the upward facing areas. Then I used pure lime green for highlights on the top of each muscle. The Breaka Boyz don't have much skin showing, so this took longer on the Tankbustas. After painting orcs for the past 3 months, this part really feels natural to me. Their muscles are easy to define, and the green gives you a lot of flexibility to experiment. For the final highlights, I mixed in a bit of yellow to push the brightest areas on the face and shoulders. For the pants, I decided to go with grey for the Breaka Boyz and blue jeans for the Tankbustas, just a mid-tone and a highlight for both, leaving black in the shadows. Then I painted the remaining details, such as shirts and leather, with a couple of browns, nothing too fancy. For the Tankbustas, I painted a couple extra details in red. Finally, I painted the bases with my usual brown and red mix. Now we're going to paint the metallics, but we're going to make them extremely rusty. This step is super fast, super easy, but gives you amazing results. And it's also the thing people ask me about the most, so pay attention now. We mix the pigments 50-50, add water and a bit of binder, and we apply it over all the metallic areas. Then we need to let it dry properly for a couple of hours, ideally overnight. I also used Tissot pigment on the bases. And I used a brown wash over all the yellow areas, which I had forgotten to do before, just to make them dirtier. Now let's finish the metallics. I dry brushed lead belcher, leaving the rust in the recesses. As you can see, this looks super realistic and takes literally zero effort. For the black panels, we define them by doing a quick edge highlight with this lighter metallic color. And we use it for a bit of weathering on the yellow too. So that's it. By building these two units, I didn't only save 40 euros, I also created custom Tankbustas that I honestly like more than the originals. If you enjoyed this, check this video where I built 2 trucks out of 1 kit. Stay tuned for more new orcs coming soon. See you in the next one.